President Trump heads into this weekend still facing questions about his Helsinki talks with Vladimir Putin and about a possible second summit. The Kremlin said today it is open to Mr. Trump's idea of inviting President Putin to Washington this fall. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said it would be all to the good. We'll have a full report after the news summary. Secretary Pompeo also pressed North Korea today for concrete actions on dismantling its nuclear program. He traveled to the United Nations in New York and said the Security Council is set to keep enforcing sanctions until the North acts.
Chairman Kim made a promise. Chairman Kim told not only President Trump but President Moon that he was prepared to denuclearize. The scope and scale of that is agreed to. The North Koreans understand what that means. There's no mistake about what the scope of denuclearization looks like. So what do we need to see? We need to see Chairman Kim do what he promised the world he would do.
South Korea's central bank estimated today that the North's economy sharply contracted, that is, due to the sanctions. In southwestern Syria, rebels and civilians began evacuating from the frontier near the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Dozens of buses transported them to opposition-held areas in northern Syria as part of a surrender deal. United Nations refugee officials welcomed the arrangement.
We urge all parties in Syria to protect and provide safe passage to civilians displaced by the recent fighting in the south of the country. An estimated 140,000 people remain displaced across the southwest and need safe passage out of the area, plus immediate humanitarian assistance, protection and shelter.
The rebels are now confined to part of northwestern Syria. Kurdish militias control large parts of the northeast. Back in this country, there is new word that candidate Donald Trump talked about possibly paying off a former Playboy model in a secret recording. The New York Times and others are reporting his former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, made the recording 2 months before the 2016 election. Karen McDougal claimed that she had had an affair with Mr. Trump in 2006, but he has denied it. His current lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, says the recording shows Mr. Trump did nothing wrong. The Justice Department reports at least 364 migrant children older than 5 have been reunited with their parents. They are among more than 2,500 children separated from parents at the Mexico border. A federal judge in San Diego has set a July 26 deadline to reunite all of the families. Divers in Missouri, meanwhile, have recovered 17 bodies from an amphibious boat that sank on a storm-tossed lake. It happened last night near the country western tourist town of Branson. 9 victims came from one family. Witness videos captured the boat capsizing in churning waves and winds of 65 miles an hour. Today, Missouri's governor pledged a full investigation.
I think it's going to take time to know the details of everything that's occurred. The sheriff, the highway patrol, a lot of people involved trying to answer all the questions that you're asking. We don't know what the status of all the events yet. That's still under investigation.
A severe thunderstorm warning had been issued for Branson about 40 minutes before the boat went down. Repair crews were out in central Iowa today after tornadoes hit yesterday and injured 17 people. Forecasters say at least 5 twisters swept across 3 cities, Bondurant, Marshalltown, and Pella. Social media video captured the storm's flattening buildings. Nearly 6,000 customers lost power and 1 hospital was evacuated. Meanwhile, much of the South is roasting in triple-digit heat that could last into next week. The Republican Party will hold its 2020 National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. They announced the choice today. Las Vegas was the other finalist. A divided Charlotte City Council endorsed the idea this week by just 1 vote. The president now says he is willing to go the limit in a trade war with China. He told CNBC that he would slap tariffs on everything that Beijing sells to the U.S. unless Chinese trade policies change. That is more than $500 billion worth of goods. The president acknowledged that it could damage the stock market, but he said if it does, it does. The U.S. already imposed tariffs on $34 billion worth of goods from China, with another $16 billion in the works. China has retaliated in kind. The president also took the unusual step again today of criticizing the Federal Reserve for for raising interest rates. But his budget chief insisted Mr. Trump respects the Fed's independent role. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 6 points to close at 25,058. The Nasdaq fell 5 points, and the S&P 500 slipped 2. Still to come on the NewsHour, what President Trump's relationship with Vladimir Putin means for Ukraine, Syria, and NATO. At least 100 new allegations of sexual abuse at Ohio State University. Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans exposed to toxic particles. Plus much more.